Yo, Foul Hooked Whitey's back. Brandon Booty.
What up?
What up? East Rosebud in Mexico, episode 3. I left off after a so-so to disappointing day 1 with Juanito. It wasn't Juanito's deal. It's just that when the light really got good on Monday, they just permit we're not around. So when they were around, it was kind of hazy. It's a weird thing. It's that first light in the morning, and you just can't see that good.
Yeah.
Right? Even with blue skies, it's still till that sun starts getting up and over you.
Yeah. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
It's hard to see the fuckers. So on day 2, I got to fish with a guide, because I set up the guide schedule. I got to fish with a guy that's been guiding our groups for years, but I just have never really fished with him. And his name's Rodo. R-O-D-O, Rodo. Interesting dude. People have always liked him because he puts you in front of good fish. But Rodo's reputation is kind of like that Juanito. A little brash, You got to cast better, motherfucker. One of them, right? Plus, Rodo speaks great English, like really fucking good English, right? And I didn't know at the time, but that Tuesday day was actually my last good shot at a great day of fishing there, because after Tuesday, which was day 2, the weather started to regress. The rain didn't come till the last day or two, but the fucking wind, like the next day, Wednesday and Thursday, was like, you're fucked. I mean, I'm not saying you can't catch some fish, and I'm not saying they can't spot some fish, but is it ideal for what we're doing? It's the opposite of ideal.
Yeah, you gotta work a lot harder in the wind.
Fuck, I mean, you gotta predict. You cast upstream or cast into the wind, so that shit knocks it down where it needs to be. I mean, there's just a lot more to the casting, because when you're permit fishing, you're not fucking laying up like you are for a bonefish, yo. You know what that means?
Yeah.
That means they're coming, and the cast wasn't great, but the guy's like, keep it. And he'll then wait for that bonefish to be in the area. Now he says, okay, strip it slow. Just move by move instructions. That's what they do for you, right? Yeah. They're fucking, I hate to say this to you as a guy, but you don't do dick.
Yeah, not compared to those guys.
Fuck. That's harsh. That's harsh, because you have to deal with snobby Americans.
Yeah, so do they.
Yeah, they do, but they ignore them. And so I get into this skiff with Rodo, and he looks at me and says, "We're going to catch some nice fish today." And I was like, "Oh, well, whoa, okay, wonderful."
Like the confidence.
I do, because they'll tell you just as frankly when it's not going to happen. So when he says, we're going to catch some fish, we're going to see some fish, that just jacks me up for my day. It's just that simple. So on that particular day, all we did for the most part was fish for permit. So in the morning, we end up going to our shipwreck. So I don't know what kind of boat it was, but it's some boat that sunk, and it's fucking down there 40 feet. You can kind of see it. It's kind of like a brownish layer down there of something. That's the actual sunken boat. And the reason he took me there is because everything's around it. You can blind cast to the fucking wreck for nice tarpon. You can blind cast for grouper. You can blind cast for some snook. You can get all of it around this wreck, which makes sense, right? Because in the ocean, in the flats, if there's structure, some motherfucker's going to be there.
Especially a big structure like that.
They're going to be there. So we started to see big groups of permit right away. They were floating. So in 3 to 4, 4 to 5 feet of water, you're only going to see them when they're up on top, cruising. It's quite beautiful.
How big are they other schools?
It would be anywhere between 10 and 30, but the only thing you'd focus on is how fucking big the big ones were. You get a really good look at these elusive motherfuckers, and we were looking at 20, 25, 30 pounders.
Dang.
And I really thought that day was my day.
I bet your eyes were so big.
It's more than that, because this first group we ended up fishing to give you an example, he sees a couple of permit on a ray, because permit will trail a stingray, and they'll basically feed off what the stingray kicks up. That's what the permit will do that, yeah. So there's a romanticizing when it comes to casting permit on a ray. number one, you can see the fish better, and number two, it's just fucking cool to see what you've been looking for on the back of a big ray, right? And I'm talking a stingray type critter, right? So I get a chance to cast to some of these fish early in the morning, and they're just too far, right? The wreck was cool because I got to see my first hammerhead shark. I've never, in all the shark fishing I've done and all the traveling I've done, I just have never actually seen a hammerhead shark. And this was not a grand hammerhead that motherfucker gets like 90 feet long. It's one of the smaller juveniles, but it was still 6-8 feet long, and it was beautiful. Like that was a big part of my day, was seeing that hammerhead, right?
Yeah.
And I asked my guide, these fuckers eat flies? He's like, all day. So he said, come back in May when they're around. But so we saw the hammerhead, we saw some lemons, we saw some permit that morning. In fact, we saw so many permit that it was kind of getting to me a little bit. It wasn't that I was blowing my shots, I was actually casting pretty good. But in saltwater, as far as the direction of the fish, there can be luck in it.
Oh,
yeah, there can be luck. There can be luck. I mean, you hear about people getting rescued because somebody just fucking drove over them. It's kind of a the thing about it is out there on Ascension Bay is it's real fucking habitat. Like there's no they got a fucking satellite phone and all in case some shit goes down. Yeah. But for the most part, when you have a good weather day and a good fishing day, you're going to be on some fish. And on that first day with Roto, second day, excuse me, man, I was on them. I didn't catch anything bigger than a couple of, I'll call them barely qualifiers. Barely. Like they're so, this fight, they're about that round, and I've made fun of so many people holding up a fucking permit and a picture that size. I couldn't fucking do it. I couldn't fucking do it. I wanted to do it, but I couldn't fucking do it. So through the course of the day, the best moment that I had that didn't happen was these guys started going to what they call a spawning mantis shrimp floater. So it's not a mantis shrimp streamer like we tie here for these trips, right? It's more one of those things where it's like probably in smaller sizes, right? They'll do more of like that stripping dry fly thing. But the one this kid gave me was big.
So it'd be equivalent of micing, or
yep, exactly. It'd be like fishing a gurgler. Cast it out there directionally where he tells you. Give it a 2-minute, 3-minute, chill. And then just start moving it in fast to a slowing down trend. And, I've got a lot of cuda on that fishery, and I've caught a few tarpon on that fishery with, like a toothy critter type setup. But on that day with Roto, brother, from mid-morning till we were done, all I fucking did was cast a big permit. And irregardless as to the lack of success, it's such a wonderful place to go to. It's such a great habitat, Ascension Bay. But if permit's not really your jam, in my opinion, I would go somewhere else. Because you could end up picking up that third or that fourth and that fifth day and just end up being a lot happier. I mean, I think Ascension Bay is a legit fishery. It isn't anything like that. It's just that, did you notice it was a little bit chilly there? Did you get any sensation of being cold in Mexico?
I wasn't there.
Oh, fuck. The fuck am I? You better edit that out, man. That's the weed talking. Basically, in Mexico, you're there to fish for permit.
Okay.
I got no problem getting my balls kicked in repeatedly from permit. Like I'm used to it now. It used to bug me.
If you're a fly fisherman, that's part of. You know what I mean? That's part of.
This is worse. This is worse, though.
I get that.
This is worse. This is like
next level.
It is next level. It's fucking Super Bowl. Playing in the show. But it's just unfortunate I'm playing for the fucking Cowboys. All right. So in the morning we had a lot of shots at these permit, but in the afternoon, I was so proud to experience that afternoon with my wife in the boat, because we just got shot after shot after shot of permit. I mean, it wasn't like they were everywhere, but Roto knew where they were and he knew how to hold us. So for 2-3 hours, the motherfucker didn't even move. He just sat there, pulling the sand, waiting for him to come by. Dang.
Yeah, that's a guide right there.
And not only that, but, for us to be quiet and for us to be concentrating and for us to be paying attention, to have him say, oh, you see him over there? 2 o'clock, 100 feet? Boom, there they are. When they're floating and it's sunny, you can see them.
Yeah.
That foam, that gurgler mantis shrimp that I'm talking about, that fly provided me with the one opportunity I had in those days of catching a good one. He just missed it. Strip. Permit comes out, bends his body, tries to eat it, misses it, goes right back down. That was the closest I had all week to really capturing what I wanted to catch.
Shoot.
Well, it's just, it
happens,
Fuck. You bet it happens. I looked back at my guide Rodo and I was like, fuck. He's like, that's permit fishing, man. You're really gonna do this and bitch about it? You don't know the deal yet, huh? It's hard, fucker.
Yeah.
It's hard. And that's what permit fishing is for me. It's difficult. I've got friends that have got double-digit permit in their career, and they're just fucking better. I mean it. There can be some luck with permit, just like there can be luck with any fish, but you'd really better catch them on the right fucking moment, right? To fuck up like that, right?
Yeah.
And you'd really better know what you're doing if you plan on reeling them in and landing them. It's not like I've caught a bunch, but even the ones that I caught this last week, which were, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 pounds, 2 or 3 pounds, not very big. Man, I talk about this in this studio and I talk about this with you, my friend, and just my words take me back.
Yeah, I can tell.
Fuck.
I can tell.
It was my best ever permit fishing day in my career. And I only caught 2 small ones. But it was still that fucking good. And it was that good because of just getting the privilege of getting to see them.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? They were just, for those first 2 days, I should have caught a permit. I really should have caught a permit. So anything else? You got any questions about Mexico? You ever going to go?
I want to.
Yeah.
I want to. It's definitely on my bucket list. That'll probably be my first saltwater trip when I do go.
Yeah, the nice thing, when I talk up Mexico and I talk up the Bahamas, but the nicest thing about Mexico to me is just the habitat. Everything is out there. Everything is out there. Great permit schools, decent bonefish, nice baby tarpon, big fucking snook. I didn't see any. But, I had a tough week. Considering how good Cuba was for me 3 weeks ago. When I went to Mexico last week, I got my ass kicked. I got my ass kicked. I really did. I didn't really do well. It wasn't all because of me. It wasn't all because I'm, casting. I got my sugar in the boat, so I'm pimping. I'm casting. I want it to look good, right? I want her to dig it. Fall into grace with me, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And that doesn't even matter because you could do all that and not catch dick.
Yeah, shoot. Sometimes it doesn't land your way.
There was another nuance with this. I think there was a decent number of people in our group that had COVID.
Oh dang, yeah.
Fuck, and I think we got it from Cuba 2 weeks prior. That's a fucking truth. I had a buddy on the Cuba trip that was starting to kind of feel it at the end of the week, and I'm sitting there going, I feel fine. And then the second I got home at the end of that week, I'm like, oh boy, something's on me.
It's going around.
Oh, fuck. Oh, is it?
Oh, yeah.
Here?
Yeah.
Okay, so the reason I suspect it was COVID, I didn't take a test, is because one of my best friends who was on the trip says, I tested positive for COVID last night.
Yeah, that's probably what it was then.
Motherfucker's still there. He did not go. That just shows you people are kind of, blowing it off now, right?
Yeah.
So my day with Rodo on day 2, it didn't yield anything that I wanted. Caught those 2 small ones, that's something. But when you're seeing 30, 35 pounders cruising around, those fucking, saucer plates ain't going to do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the rest of the week, fishing-wise, it just started to go downhill from there for us. That doesn't mean everybody. Some people kind of actually did better the second half of the week, but me and my wife, it just, wanting to fish the way we do for permit, once you have no blue skies, once it's windy, once you're dealing with it, those guides in the morning are basically saying, we're not going to do too good today. Imagine you saying that to clients in the morning.
Yeah.
Huh? Even if it's fucking true, right?
Yeah.
They're not. You don't say that.
No.
You don't say that. You might be fucking thinking it all day, but you're not going to sit there and say, I hope you're not, whiny little bitches about how little we catch today. That's kind of what it can be when you have bad weather and that saltwater thing, because, you can't overcome it.
Yeah.
You can't overcome it. You can't. You can't do anything better to see them when you can't see them. So that's kind of the stakes when you're out there fishing for what we're talking about, which are bonefish, permit, tarpon, snook, shark, right? So for me, my week was pretty much over on Tuesday. Wednesday I went out, tough. Thursday I didn't go out because I was so sick. So right there, that'll tell you how I don't go fish in Mexico because I don't want to get out of bed. So it was kind of a weird week for us, right? The good news is everybody that went had a good time. The group was cohesive.
That's what matters the most. Everyone have a good time.
It really does. It's amazing how, and I've said this before, it's amazing how these trips turn into human interactions that benefit you and not just the fishing.
Yeah.
And that's what those trips are. So as people hear me talk about these trips, as I summarize after I get back, step up and go fucking do one of these.
Yeah. It's about the experience more than the fishing.
It can kind of change everything for you. I talked about those Russians. Were you in on that podcast? No,
I was. Yeah, you were, or at least I heard you mentioned.
You heard it.
At least,
yeah. I mean, just having the experience of being around these people that I was so, God, I'm going to say it, prejudiced against. I mean, I don't know how else to describe how I was, right? But this week was good because the clients were good and the folks at the Punta Island Fishing Club, from the guiding crew to the wait staff to the gal that cleans our rooms, and to the great host Tiziano, they take such good care of us. I'll never go anywhere else when it comes to Mexico to fish, and that's what they've earned with me as a host. All right, and we'll definitely be going back November of 2025. 10 spots. Come on in and sign up. I'll give you the rundown. All right, that's it. Foul Hooked Whitey episode 3. East Rosebud goes to Mexico.